Hey, what's up? Jill and Charlie from Simple Machines here, back with another episode of Machine Logic. And today we are talking about data trust. Charlie, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I think most people, when they think data trust, they're kind of working within a system and they're checking the basics, either natively in the CRM like HubSpot or, at the native integrations. But really, in most instances, what we see when data starts to drift, there is no alert. Like there's no red flag, there's nothing that says, hey, your data is wrong because really, your dashboard looks fine. Your reports seem to be working. Integrations, sync health look fine at first glance, and your pipeline's got numbers. The fact is that doesn't mean you can trust it.
Hmm. An unknown and unspoken discomfort.
It should be discomforting. I mean, when we think about how much companies are pushing AI right now, right? Like massive investments using data to push marketing, sales, service at scale. And if that foundation isn't sound, then you're not erasing that problem, you're magnifying it.
For sure, yeah. As glamorous and exciting as leveraging AI and leaning into more AI is, the start of that conversation is often a boring data governance and data hygiene conversation, and that is not something that a lot of organizations have.
No, and I think we got to move past sort of the fundamental basic like data hygiene conversation, which is yes, it's important. Like how many contacts are missing emails or how many duplicates do you have for sure. But if we're going to take this seriously, then there has to be independent verification. And a way to think about this is just because your company has accounting software doesn't mean that you won't still get audited. Like the audit isn't a sign that something's wrong. It is a way to sort of provide a proof layer that you can trust it and that it's right. And the same thing applies here. Like if you really want to use it at scale and you're going to put that much investment in it, you better be sure it's right.
It's essentially the validation layer that checks the data in the system from the outside.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, simple machines are data trust. It does go beyond that. So it provides that layer. And I think what's helpful, maybe we can cover today is how does that data trust start to fail? Because it is usually silently, and oftentimes companies don't know what's happening.
Right, yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, there are definitely some ways and some places that are, leaky bus buckets where, you talk about it's silent data loss, data erosion, et cetera, that happens not just in HubSpot, but the connective tissue and the systems and things that it's integrated with and talking to. So yeah, I think we've got a few things to talk about that will probably ring true for a lot of listeners and watchers here that will be like, oh, that sounds familiar, maybe. So let's get into it.
Let's start with one of the biggest ones, which is integrations. Most of us are using multiple tools and platforms along with our CRM. And this is a big one where, whether you're connecting it with a native app or middleware, it looks like it's working. Like the mapping's there. There's no red flags that said this is broken. But I think most of us have felt that where, you're looking at it and it's like, I think I had more meetings than HubSpot is saying I had last month. Like something's up, but it's not obvious what's going on there.
Sure. So people assume it's working, it's still losing data, nothing's creating or logging the activity in HubSpot or the CRM. No one notices because nobody's cross-referencing this. They're just assuming all of these data syncs and whatnot are working. How would you even know this is happening?
Yeah, I mean, you probably wouldn't unless you decided to like go in and manually compare the two systems. Like one example is a lot of companies, I mean, HubSpot has meetings, but maybe they're using Calendly because they like certain features. That integration with Calendly HubSpot is fine. And for all intents and purposes, it's working. But like if your Calendly numbers start to drift from your HubSpot ones, HubSpot's not going to tell you that. It's going to show the report. It's going to look right. So really, I mean, the way to do this, and this is part of this layer that we're talking about, is to actually query both systems and then compare the output in an automated way. So this is pulling the records, it's pulling the date range, the count, all the stuff that makes sense. And then it's telling you either you're good, these match, there's no discrepancies, or here are the discrepancies, and you can go troubleshoot exactly what's going on.
Right on. So yeah, calendar syncing, meetings, just making sure that those, set, held, kept, logged. Probably a good example. What's another one?
One that a lot of people maybe don't know. HubSpot's really good at capturing bounced marketing emails. Sales emails, it's really not. So if you're sending a one-to-one email or sequences and that contact bounce, HubSpot captures that in many different ways. None of them are very conducive to like segmentation, reporting, automation. So that's another one where we're using our extra layer to essentially use logic to go and find all those, pull them out, compare, and then, every week or every month, we have an update of like how many of those have bounced from a sales email, put them into a list, exclude them, suppress, report, whatever needs to be done.
Cool. So that's the data getting lost in transit. What about when the data actually makes it into both systems, but they're telling you different things, like your ERP says revenue is 24 million, but your CRM says 21 million, and both have had reports and dashboards built and set up inside of them by people who, are smart and believable. But what number do you trust there?
That is a problem. I mean, and the thing is that tends to be the question, but it's a bit of a trap because what I think we tend to see is that it doesn't get resolved. People trust the number that they trust. And they think, well, I'm in the ERP more or vice versa. Therefore, like I'm going to go with this number versus that number. But there's no
Because
real,
that's the decision I want to make, because I'm more of an ERP person, right? Yeah.
yeah. And then, if the person's high up enough, like the disagreement is it's been resolved. Now we're going to trust this number going forward and that's that. And you move on. And that could be a major problem.
So is this a technology problem, process problem? How do most organizations and revenue teams solve for this sort of thing?
It's mostly process. I mean, if you think about it, the tech itself is not broken. Like it's doing its job, right? But the fact is, different tools and platforms, they just work differently. They're built on different tech. They use different languages, parameters, filters, and on and on. So when it starts to disagree, there's no mechanism to surface a red flag or an alert. And that's just because otherwise you would have to count for every possible discrepancy, and that's not manageable. So again, that's where this validation layer comes in, is if let's stick with the CRM ERP example, it's going to query both. And this isn't necessarily to say it has to match 100% all the time, but it tells you to what degree is it mismatched and where are those discrepancies so that you can decide, is this worth remediating, or do we just kind of bake it into our numbers going forward?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Got it. So you're running these things in parallel. This automated reconciliation that you're talking about is kind of like an automatic referee. It's not picking a winner or choosing sides. It's just saying, hey, time out. This is saying this. This is saying this. Now, how do you as an organization want to deal with it?
Yeah, this team is doing it this way, this team's doing it this way. If you want these to match, now you know how you would go about resolving that.
Let's talk about switching gears slightly, data that never enters the system. Because we all know that there are salespeople that are, do as I say, not as I do. Sometimes do what I mean, not what I say. As we all know, there are habits that are greatly different among various sales and marketing teams and resources that might not be recording everything.
Yeah, especially the good sales reps, they kind of get a pass. They don't enter all their stuff in there, and it's like, well, it's fine, they're selling, right? That creates a certain problem, which is if you're trying to use this as a source of truth to track revenue and pipeline and forecast, and and you don't know how far off you are, then it becomes unusable. If it's if you don't know if it's 5% or 20% off, what are you supposed to do with that number?
Why can't reps just use the damn CRM, Charlie? Why?
I'm
Why
a
can't we all
marketing guy.
just get along?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I guess to help answer that one question, I can see it because it's slowing them down. Like, hey, I'm working on something hot. I'm trying to run with this and push along next steps. And from my perspective, this process is clunkier than me just doing it my way. Lack of consequence is another one you mentioned. Um, I don't think any organization is going to cut off their nose to spite their face if they've got a really productive top seller. But as we say, what the rest of us mortals, what are the consequences that other folks may experience if things aren't logged and tracked, right?
Yeah, and those consequences are real if you're making investments based on those numbers, whether it's in another sales resource or more tools or product or whatever. I mean, that's business changing. So yeah, and to your point, is the goal here that 100% of the time every rep is entering every bit of data in the CRM? No, like it's just not realistic. However, what this extra layer can provide you is it even there at all? Like to what extent is it missing? So that you know as a sales leader or RevOps, what do I want to do about that? And how do I need to address like our numbers to account for it?
Yeah, I mean, even, hearkening back to the ERP CRM discrepancy, like, oh, this is saying 24 million, this is saying 21 million. I mean, that's almost, what is that, like 12, 15% discrepancy? Those are, if that was happening just like in the CRM alone, it's no cup of coffee, right?
Yeah, I mean, back to original point, like, is this the fun, sexy part of AI? No. However, it's like incredibly important when you're talking about that magnitude of discrepancy. Like, it's huge. So,
Got it. All right, so let's pull this together. We've got our integrations that drop data silently, systems that just contradict each other, and that data never entering the system in the first place, right? And
mhm.
and none of these announce themselves that, hey, this is happening, right? The system doesn't tell you it's broken. So you need this external validation layer, something that checks the system against itself, against the reality that you're seeing.
Yeah, and we won't rattle them off here, but yeah, we put together it's a 10-point checklist of what we would consider to be trustworthy data, and it's everything from how it gets captured to, the AI classification, like the life cycle of the data. So we can link to that in the video, and then in future episodes we'll go more in depth on specific examples of this to show what it looks like.
Cool. Well, yeah, if you're not sure where your data stands, this is definitely the place to start. Not with more dashboards and reports per se, but with more proof and defensibility. So thanks for walking us through it, Charlie.
Thank you.